Wiffle Nation, welcome to the 26th episode of the Huntington Wiffle League podcast. I'm your host, Josh Smith. Joining me is pretty much a new regular guest co-host, Anthony Stidham. How you doing, Anthony?
Pretty good, Josh. How's it going today, buddy?
Good. With me is analyst and frequent co-host Jeremy Ray. What's up?
Not much, just enjoying the evening.
Okay. So, we were going to do this episode with Drew McClanahan. We were also just going to talk a little bit about the NWLA Regionals, but we decided to split those two things up. So this episode is going to be completely dedicated to the Wilkes-Barre Regional that's coming up Saturday, June 10th, where we are fighting to compete to get into the national tournament, which would be the first time since 2014 that we've competed on the national level. So, before we talk about that, though, the season is already halfway over now. We got our own tournament coming up the following Saturday, June 17th, and we've played a fast pitch tournament and a slow pitch tournament. Saved by the Balls has won both of them, and they're running away with the season so far. Are they going to be stopped?
Yes, it's going to happen. Jeremy, you want to chime in here as a teammate, or you just want to?
I honestly. They have the best team, and I said it from the get-go that I thought that they always had the best team. They had both Sit on My Base and Saved by and the Mothmen on that team. So I mean, they're set up for success. The only thing that they're ever going to struggle with is fast pitching, just on the pitching aspect, which that's the only time that they're mediocre with. Whenever it comes down to actual slow pitch, no one's going to touch them. And I think that Saved by the Balls is going to run away, and they may sweep the season. But it all comes down to the last tournaments. I think they're going to win it. Like that's hands down right now. They have such a commanding lead over everybody, and they won't be able to beat. No one can catch up. It's too late.
Yeah. I hope something happens this next tournament. If Saved by the Balls ends up winning the whole thing, they need to earn it. It's just disappointing because last year there was 3-4 teams that kind of were fighting in contention for the title, and it was interesting down to the very last tournament. And we had a draft, so it should have been even more interesting by this point. I am thinking maybe it's a little bit what Jeremy said. It's that varying pitch style format that some teams have advantages where others don't, but I think another thing that's really affecting some things is not every team is bringing their full roster each tournament, and last year that seemed to be more the case where teams were bringing their full roster. So we've got half the season to go left, so we'll see how that turns out. Hopefully Saved by the Balls gets a little run for their money from some other teams. But more immediate here, like I said, June 10th, we have a major test for our league coming up. We have a tough regional in Wilkes-Barre. And according to the Two Wiffle Dudes podcast, which was posted this morning and that I co-host, myself, Carl Coffey, and Justin Tompkins, who's the main committee member for the NWA tournament in the absence of Chris Galloway, which Justin, this is his baby anyway. All three predicted for us to finish on the bubble in 4th place and winning that death bracket to get a seat at the table. So that's where we're at on that. If you haven't listened to that podcast or you want to listen to that episode, go to twowiffledudes.podomatic.com and listen. So we're going to get into this first segment here. We're going to be looking back on our previous experiences and various team incarnations for the NWA tournament when we come back. Welcome back. We're going to be talking about our history with the NWLA tournament and the regionals here, year by year, very quickly. to catch up newbies in the league or people that aren't in our league and are listening from outside the league. Just a Cliff Notes version of how we've done. In 2013, actually in 2012, to go back to the very beginning, that's when the tournament was founded. I helped found it. It did almost nothing, but was a part of the founding committee with Chris Galloway and Carl Coffey and some others to get that tournament going. And that was a year that I had Wiffler's Digest going still. So Greg Sowards and I came and took a bunch of pictures of it and did some videos and interviews for Wiffler's Digest at that time. We had 8 teams show up that year, and it was off to a great start because Galloway doesn't know how to do anything half-assed, and it was amazing. So we knew we had to get a team together the next year. The HWL expanded to 6 teams in 2013, and then Maroon Squad, I think, were like 21-1 that year, and they were all pretty much excited for a chance to play in this tournament. They'd seen a lot of videos, and literally within 48 hours of the tournament date, 2 of them dropped out, which forced Greg and I to join the roster, which obviously did not have good results. We ended up going 1-5 that year. There was a team that dropped out from Mississippi, so we had 4 pool play games to compete in. We lost every one of them. Of the 6 games, we only won 1 of them, and that was because of a forfeit to Wiffle Ball because they were late to the field, which made a couple waves and sort of put a sour taste in our mouth that year, and not many people would talk to us after that. So the team had a 130 batting average, only hit 2 home runs, only had 10 hits, 27 walks, 35 strikeouts, which is horrible. The pitching was even worse. We had a team ERA of 25.85. I think there's players in our league from last year during slow pitch that probably had a better ERA than that. We only struck out 10 batters, walked 44 of them, and allowed 67 hits. We were outscored as a team 84-9, and that was possibly the most embarrassing outing of any team in NWLA tournament history. Noticeably, everybody ranked us dead last in the 2014 power rankings leading up to that tournament. But we ended up proving a lot of people wrong, and that is what many people consider this league's high water mark, not only as a league, but as a national competitor. We had 8 teams that year. We didn't have the draft or anything like that. We went from the black bat to the skinny yellow bat. We attracted some fantastic pitchers somehow. We got people like Drew McClanahan. Jeremy Ray, your first season was that year. We had Nick Capra. Jacob Fisher played the second half of that season. We just had some really good talent that year. All 4 of those people were on the team, plus Brian Ball, Paul Hessen, Steven Atkins, and Zach Blatt. Most of the team could pitch, but we all had one fatal flaw. That season, we were pitching from 45 feet away from home plate, and in NWLA, they pitched from 48 feet. And 3 feet sounds like nothing to me because I'm more of a lob-style pitcher, but if you throw in a line, apparently it is a world of difference. We didn't take that into consideration until our first pool play game where we lost 23-1 to Skeevy Wiffle Ball League with our ace on the mound, Drew McClanahan. So we ended up pulling it out, and we've got a 4-3 record that year, and we've only won 6 games in NWA tournaments history. 4 of them were from that year, and we made it to the second round double elimination before losing to McQuan. We turned many heads and proved almost everybody wrong that did power rankings because almost everybody has power rank last. So after that, we didn't quite finish in the top 8. They started regionals for the following season, but we were pretty excited because we were on to something. Now, in 2015, there was a lot of drama, mainly from me, because the regional format just kind of got... It was something that was discussed, but not many people knew that was what was going to happen, because it's very golden sticky, very New England friendly, and to the Midwest, especially the upper Midwest, where there's a large concentration of leagues. But Justin Tompkins really successfully, mobilized his idea of the format setting, and Chris Galloway decided to take off with it. There's a lot I could say about that. But between the stipend not being offered until we pulled out and offering our league as a host site where it would have been a more central location for Southern leagues that had applied at that time, and it being sent to St. Louis, which is not part of the South, that's part of the Midwest. It's not just my opinion. Ask anybody who studies geography. And we just decided to pull out that year. And pretty much everyone was in agreement with that, but 2016 came around last year, and a lot of those players that were with the league at that point were no longer there, and we had a bunch of new faces. We had Josh Blair, Ian Handy, Anthony Stidham, all these people who wanted to go compete, and a few people who still wanted to compete, like yourself, Jeremy, and somebody who missed out in 2014, Andrew. So we went 1-4. So
against both teams that we were playing were both 0-4 at that point.
Yeah. So we started out okay. I knew we weren't bringing the best squad, and I wasn't sure if we were bringing the best that we had to offer. But it was like we were starting from scratch because we didn't play the year before. Most of the players in the league were not in the league in 2014 anymore, so we were starting with a brand new pool of talent. Knowing that now, I'm still not pleased with how we finished, but we finished about as well as we deserved to finish, in my opinion. So we lost 2 close games to Leroy Wiffle Association, who went on to finish in the top 8 in nationals later that year, and then we lost in a heartbreaker to Griffle Ball, and we absolutely crushed Greater Cincinnati and got Kalamazoo and Wiffle Southeast Michigan absolutely wiped the floor with us. So, in my opinion, we should have been 3-2, and we tried everything we could, including some controversial benchings to get people to bat more often to hopefully generate some more runs that ended up not working out. So now we're at 2017. Okay, this will be our 4th NWA tournament. We've grown wiser. We've got new talent and some talent returning. We built this season format, the half and half slow pitch, fast pitch format. I'm imagining with the sole purpose in mind of finding people who can throw fast so that we can compete in the NWA tournament. That's how much it matters. We've got a full roster, and we actually have a team manager. This will be the first time since 2014 we've done that. Not a lot of teams do that. They actually have a true manager that's not playing all the time. And a lot of talent and high wiffle ball IQ personalities such as yourself, Jeremy, and Anthony on this team. All 3 of the guys from the Two Wiffle Dudes podcast saying we're going to finish 4th, which is qualifying. So that's where we're at right now. But I just want to ask, since you were both there in 2016, all 3 of us were, what makes this year so different for this regional team compared to last year?
Well, if I can start it off, I think we have top to bottom everything we needed last year. We have great pitchers. We have great bats. We have great fielding. And we've got experience with it this year as well with Jeremy and myself and maybe Andrew Westcott getting to go as well. That's still yet to be seen. But Josh Blair is a reserve on his team. He's got some experience from last year. Was an award-winning fielder last year, if I remember correctly. Mm-hmm. So I just think we're built better top to bottom. We got some younger talent, and we have the experience and the confidence to bring back a qualification for nationals.
I went to the 2014 one, and I went to the regionals, and I was very disappointed that we didn't get to go to 2015 because I thought that was my best year that I've ever had with pitching. But last year, we relied too much on just one pitcher, and we brought up some people that we thought could pitch and didn't turn out too well. And then Josh, you ended up pitching one game, which
despite my protest,
like, I don't want to pitch. And we're like, well, you're going to. And that was a major issue. And I mean,
I actually did okay. Paul slapped that grand slam from like second base all the way over the home run fence. So I mean, you can't blame me for half of my earned runs.
But to elaborate more on that, I mean, we relied too heavily on one person, especially for the pitching, because we were like, I was going to pitch the first, third, and fifth game, and hope to get the 3 wins out of that. And this is my 4th season. My arm can only handle so much now, because throwing a weightless ball takes a toll on the shoulder, especially with age, and it really takes a toll. And I think that's one thing that we had to establish, and that's why we added both fast pitch and slow pitch, like what you said, to see who can actually pitch, who can actually hit the strike zone. Because not only does speed matter, but accuracy matters. Because going up to these national tournaments, a lot of them will take the pitches. Because it's hard to throw a wiffle ball. It is very hard. And to actually hit the strike zone, it actually takes talent with speed.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of talent. And one thing that I am very confident in, and like I said, I was part of that very talented 2014 team where we had a lot of pitchers. We had a lot, but we pitched from 45. We move them back 3 feet, and everyone's hitting them. But we are actually, I think we are faster and hitting the zone more with the amount of pitchers that we have going up to this. And not everyone's a pitcher, and everyone has a role to play. And not like they're not all just playing all the time. They don't have to play the field and hit and then go into pitch. I mean, we don't have to worry about that. We're all playing roles instead of everything relying on you or everything relying on one person to do everything. And that's one thing that we are trying to establish a lot better with this 2017, me being my 3rd time going on to the national circuit.
No. That's a pretty good recap. We're going to take a break, and then we're going to ask some big questions regarding this team itself. That's something that a lot of people are going to be interested in, I think. Not really sure what to expect. So when we come back, we'll address that. And we're back. Guys, I'll just say it. We've never had the goods to finish in the top 8 at nationals. We came close. Last year, we didn't even have the goods to qualify for the national tournament itself. Do you think this is the year that we return to a national tournament? Just be brief.
Absolutely. This is my 3rd attempt. Well, 2014, I was already there, and I know what it takes to get there. And I really do think that this team is the team that not only qualify but actually do well at the national tournament.
I agree completely. The confidence is high on this team. We're built. We have multiple starting pitchers. We have multiple relievers. We have probably the best closer going because he was a starting pitcher for years. Been talking about Jeremy Ray. Our bats are all there. Young guys ready to hit the ball. Great guys ready to field. I mean, we're built. We're stacked top to bottom. And I say that because I'm the manager and I'm a reliever, and I feel confident in myself. But I'm not even. I'm a manager, and we got the guys to go. You know.
Awesome. I like confidence. Now, last year we put a team together of what I would say are dudes we knew would come. Since, like I said, we were pretty much starting from scratch again, and I've already been burned on trying to build a team that I felt was talented to do it without knowing much about them personally. Almost everybody on the team last year was the first year I knew them. So we built a team of dependable players we knew would show up, and now we have built a team of guys who we feel are the best in the league. Jeremy, I think you primarily were the architect of the team starting out here. Was it harder to build this team knowing that you have your pick of the litter and you're going to be maybe making some people upset? Because I know we had more than 8 people willing to play on this team.
Yeah, it wasn't too hard to actually make that decision because, I mean,
You're a cold-hearted son of a bitch.
My original goal was to just take the Mothman and me, because that whole team in general, they are just a solid team from batting to fielding to pitching. I mean, just all of them, and we are relying heavily on them this year to go in there and do work that we need to go and do, and that's why I'm myself, and I'm kind of taking a step back on a lot of things that I'm going to be doing.
Awesome. Well, you got your wish. You still have 4 members of the 2016 Mothman team. You got Brandon Metzger, White Zuspin, Brandon Roush, and Bryce Clark there, plus yourself, and also newcomer Patrick Horton, Ian, who is serving as a reliever, also the team manager, and you got Josh Blair, who last I'd heard is an assistant manager or something when he's not possibly going in as an alternate, and then you also have Andrew Westcott on the team. So if you know anything about our league, that's a pretty stacked team any way you cut it. So moving on, also Jeremy, you're the most recognizable player on the team. And I could just go ahead and say safely, because Carl Coffey said it a few times now, you're the most recognizable player in the league. Since Drew's absence, it's created this vacuum of recognition in the league where you've sort of filled that void. And you made quite the name for yourself in 2014 by literally carrying the team on your back in terms of pitching for a couple games. Are you going to be as formidable on the mound this year as you were back then?
Well, I'm not going to reveal too many secrets, but I'm hoping to go up there and do what I do best, and that's get people out. And now that I know that I have help with pitching, I won't have to pace myself. I won't have to on how hard I throw for innings, because I know I could just go in for a couple innings and throw as hard as I can and keep the score low, and if anything, keep them from scoring, because I know I have the bats and the fielding behind me.
All right, Anthony, I'll move on to you now. There's only been one other time where we've had a non-starting player manager of an HWL team at the NWLA tournament, and that was myself in 2014. Of the 3 times we've competed in NWLA events, our performance was best in 2014. Do you think that's a coincidence? And do you think having you as a manager will give this team an even bigger edge this year?
Absolutely. I think that the experience I had last year and being able to sit back and watch what our team's doing as a whole, and using the experience from last year and my experience just in the last couple of years with the league, I think that yeah. Sorry, Josh, get rid of that. I screwed that all up.
All right, man. Go ahead and start from the top. You want me to ask the question again, or?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
Now, whenever you're ready.
Yeah, go ahead and ask the question again. Sorry.
Okay. All right, good. It'll be easier for me to edit. So, Anthony, there's only been one other time where this team has had a non-playing manager, and that was in 2014. So we've competed 3 different times, and our best outing was also that same year. Do you think that's a coincidence? Also, do you think that having you as the team manager will give this team an even bigger edge?
Yeah, I feel like that having someone on the sidelines that can point out things that maybe a player on the field can't see really helps out. And the experience last year really done me some good, because I was able to do the same thing, but I was actually a player last year, and I could see things, but I didn't have the voice last year. So this year, being able to work with Jeremy and tell him, kind of what I'm seeing from the sidelines and directing traffic, I think that it really does a lot for the players. Not having to worry about paying attention to the game and what the best strategy is. You have someone that can kind of take that charge and know what direction to go.
Nice. So I have a follow-up question. What have you learned from playing the game, not only in our league, but during last year's NWLA Regional, do you think is going to serve you well in this regional coming up?
Last year was eye opening for me. We done all slow pitch last year, and then I only had the minimal experience with fast pitch in my half season in 2015. So last year's tournament was eye opening for me to see the talent of pitching that comes with the NWLA tournament. So knowing what to expect going into this tournament really puts me at a better advantage than it was last year, and knowing that the talent we have can match the talent that I saw last year and even best it. I think that it puts us in a league by ourselves. I think we're gonna really go up there and surprise a lot of people and turn a lot of heads.
Awesome. I did have a question about other teams that we should be concerned about in Pennsylvania, but since we played in the Morenci Regional last year, we've actually not played against any of those teams. Now, there's 6 other teams there. The American Wiffle Association of America, which is Jimmy Cole's brainchild. Then the Wild Wiffle Ball Federation, which is a Wilkes-Barre area team. Then the Greater Auburn Wiffle Ball League, which is from Massachusetts. And then Wiffle's Life League, which is also from, I believe, the Pittsburgh metro area, which is actually close by. I'm thinking maybe we could try to get something going there eventually. And then the Backyard Wiffle Ball League of the Wilkes-Barre area, whose field is actually going to be hosting this tournament. They didn't qualify last year, I don't think. And then Newcomers Ridley Park Wiffle League, which is a younger league, also from somewhere in Pennsylvania, I think in Scranton. So those are our competitors right now. We don't have any experience with them, so it will be interesting to see how we handle brand new competitors like that. Not a single one of these people played in Morenci. Some of them qualified, or some of them have played in the regionals last year, but there's a few teams there that this will also be their first regional experience there. So I'm going to move on to my final question in this segment. This is to both of you. If we can't qualify this year with this big of a push from our league, I mean, everyone's involved here. We've got some of our most veteran players, part of the organizing committee from the league, and so many people are pitching in to help this effort here. If we still don't qualify, do you think we should consider using our time on other tournaments instead and giving up on that dream?
I don't actually. I feel like taking the team we're taking now, we got our best chance this year, I believe. But we also are taking a young team overall. The Mothmen are full of there are a lot of guys that are young there on that team. So I feel like that we can build off of these guys over the next couple of years and go from here. But I do not feel like we need to give up on the dream. I feel like that we're just now starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel and realize that dream.
What are your thoughts, Jeremy?
I still think that we will push because I've talked with Bryce, who's the head of the Mothman, who's also on the committee. Like, we've had many conversations about stuff like this, and he's always a competitor. And if we don't do well, he's going to try to fix it for next year. So, I mean, it's definitely there's going to be a push for next year, regardless of the results, even though I do think that we will qualify. But this won't be our last showing, whatever happens at this regional. We will definitely give a push, and at that point, I will probably I will be a non-player and actually going up and just being a voice and helping out with managing and everything else like that.
All right, good stuff. There is some good news. If we do qualify or don't qualify, we should be able to make the London Wiffle Ball Tournament. I don't remember the date offhand, but it is not taking place the same weekend as the national tournament.
I think it's July 30th, if I remember
so it's
correctly.
the end of it's towards the end of the month for sure.
Yeah.
But we can definitely send a team to London. We sent 3 teams last year, had a blast. Jeremy, I don't think you played on the team last year, but Anthony and I did, and it was amazing. Had a great time. Actually made it, I think, into the third round of the single elimination bracket. We actually did pretty well last year, but it'll be nice that we'll be able to still make that. We also have the Amy for Africa tournament coming up in Ashland, I believe, in August. And
best name ever.
Yeah, and then
best name ever. I agree.
I haven't heard anything about it, but we've got the possibility of the third annual Wiffle tournament, if it's still going to be happening in October. And then any other tournaments that we see coming up that might be in the area, maybe we'll check them out and send a team or two. So
there is one. There is one in Point Pleasant that
yes,
the Mothmen are going to be hosting.
Yeah,
I believe it's the 22nd, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. So
I think so. Yes,
July is going to be a big
22nd of July.
Big wiffle ball month in the West Virginia area. So mark your calendars. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to close things out, ask some big picture questions here about the regionals and some predictions, and then that'll be it when we come back. Back to close things out. So I got 3 big questions. Boom, boom, boom. Guys, will we qualify this year? Why or why not?
Absolutely, without a doubt, we're qualifying. Again, I can't preach it enough. We are stacked. We're built. This team is ready for any challenge. We have multiple pitchers who can pitch multiple innings. We got closers, we got relievers, we got bats, we got fielding. We're built. The only weak spot I feel like that we may have would be experience with some of the younger guys, but I feel like their talent makes up for their experience.
Yes, we will. We will definitely qualify. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I've been around this long enough to know what it takes and been to all kinds of different national aspects, and we are honestly built to definitely qualify, if not make a lot of noise up at the national tournaments. Like I can't wait for everyone to get a load to get a look at our new team. I'm really excited to just show them off.
Awesome. Yeah, I really wish we could just fast forward to qualifying, because I know with this team we would make some noise at nationals, but first things first, we got to blow past the competition in Wilkes-Barre. Everyone's thinking we're barely going to qualify. I would like to see us finish at number 2, number 3 in the standings there, but it really depends. I'm not going to say whether or not we're going to qualify because I don't feel comfortable predicting, because I don't know anything about a lot of these teams. I think we will qualify. I'm hoping we finish in the top 3, but we could nab that 4th spot there. But if we don't qualify, that means one thing. There's some really good-ass teams in that Pennsylvania Regional, and people in the National are better watch out. I saw a streamed game of a fast-pitch game of Saved by the Balls playing the Blizzard, I believe. It was a team that was put together, and did pretty well. I've seen some pitching from Patrick Horton that I haven't seen yet. I didn't make the fast-pitch tournament, unfortunately, and I'm liking what I see. We have that stuff that I wish we would have had in 2014. We know, I believe that 3-foot difference really, it was the difference between us finishing as a top 8 team and how we ended up finishing, I feel. So you guys have taken the practices very seriously this year. How many practices have you guys had with this team at any capacity?
Maybe 6.
6?
Yeah, I was going to say 5 or 6, yeah.
Okay. How many more practices do you guys have planned before tournament time?
I believe one more at least.
Yeah, at least, and maybe the week, like next week leading up before we leave on Friday, maybe a small one on, sometime during that week, just to kind of regroup and see where we stand. Nothing too serious. We don't want to strain our arms and things like that, but we would definitely want to maybe get together at least one more time, like you said.
Okay, cool. Something Carl and I talk about a lot on the Two Wiffle Dudes podcast, and I think we've talked about on this podcast quite a bit, is team chemistry. Does this team have team chemistry? Are they friends? Are they getting along? Are they gelling well? Is everybody in sync?
I think they are, because we're bringing a team that they play a lot of sports together, and they have a good understanding of where everyone should be. and that's why they're going to be playing the field mostly. And the other odd end group are just going to worry about hitting or pitching. That way, the fundamentals are in the field. Like, you had to have the good fielding, the good coverage to get there, and I really do think that you have to have the good chemistry out on the field more so than just the hitting.
Okay, so second big question here. What matters most, especially with this team? I know pitching gets front and center a lot, but what matters most, pitching or hitting? I mean, pitching keeps you in the game. Hitting is what puts runs on the scoreboard and matters if you win or lose. So what do you guys think matters most when you're building these teams and going to these NWA events, hitting or pitching?
Hitting.
Pitching.
Oh, okay. Discuss. Jeremy, you go
Go
first.
ahead.
I think hitting, because coming from a pitching aspect, like, I can pitch all I want to, and we can lose 1-0.
Yeah.
But you have to put runs on the board to help your pitching. So hitting, to me, is an absolute first. Like, you have to bring the people that can actually hit a fast pitch in wiffle ball and be able to place it wherever they want to. And that's why I think that hitting is absolutely the most important thing in wiffle ball.
I don't disagree that it's important. One of the things, you don't absolutely have to hit the ball to get on base. I've discovered that. I walk pretty frequently myself, but being a patient batter is important. But I feel like, if you can hit the zone consistently and have the right pitching on the mound, I feel like that you stop the other team's hitting, which is very important. Having good defense on the field goes along with pitching. I just think it's more important. I feel like that if you can control the pace of the game with your arm and your defense, you take their hitting out, which they don't have any. They can't do anything then.
I don't think it's either one of those things. We've brought good pitchers and we've brought good hitters in tournaments of the past, which leads me to my third big question here, my final one. Do you think we have an edge over years past by bringing so much significantly younger talent? People like Metzger and Zuspin, Roush, and Horton and Clark. They're all in their lower 20s, and in 2014 the average age of a team player was about 26 years old. 2013 it was around the same, and then last year was even older. I mean, I'm in my 30s. You guys are in your 30s as well. So do you think that having the youth factor there is really going to be serving to our benefit?
Absolutely.
There's no question, man.
Yeah, because Greg Sowards famously said when we were getting our asses handed to us in 2013 that this is not a sprint, this is a marathon. So this is a young man's game. The arms hold out. The people that get gassed are going to be older, and when you're gassed, you start to get a little apathetic, or you just can't do it. So I think this is truly the best team we've ever built for an NWA tournament. I'm very excited to see what our results are going to be. I'll be incredibly disappointed if we don't qualify, because this is literally our best shot. Our greatest hope is being sent June 10th to Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, to compete against 6 other teams to see if we've got what it takes to play in Michigan. So I think that pretty much covers everything. We've got less than 10 days until we find out if we're going to have the goods to qualify. So, as always, we're working to make this podcast more accessible and interesting for our listeners, especially you who are on the go. You can find our podcast at our library on our website. If you go to www.huntingtonwiffleball.com, click on media and then podcasts, and all the YouTube URLs are linked there from episode 1 to this one and the ones in the future. Also, we have started using Podomatic. You can go to www.huntingtonwiffle.podomatic.com, and there you can download the past few episodes we've done. And thanks to RSS feeds, we are now also on iTunes. So if you got an iPhone, just click on podcasts and look up Huntington Wiffle, and you'll find us there. Download, stream at your leisure. And so that way you won't miss a single fun-filled episode if you subscribe. We have a very special episode coming up for episode 27. We're going to be interviewing what some people believe to be a man who've met him, and what most people who haven't met him consider him to be some other non-human form person, such as a unicorn, as stated by Anthony on our last podcast. So it will be it'll be a reunion for some of us and an introduction for many in this league. And we are going to be announcing about a week ahead of time when we're going to be doing that episode, so we can get tons of chatter and questions from listeners for Drew, since this will be about 2 years since we've heard from him last. He won the 2015 championship with Breaking Balls, and he has not made a single appearance since. We thought that he was going to get the final draft pick this year, but it ended up not happening. So yet another year we're without Drew. Not sure if he's ever going to return. We will have many questions for him, so definitely look forward to that next episode. Signing off for Anthony and Jeremy, I'm your host, Josh Smith. Talk to you soon.